Intellectual property and patent, a conversation so important yet few are having. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the official ScaleupStream podcast. I'm your host, Hugh Seth. Today, we have a special guest joining us by the name of Bao Tran, founder of Patent PC. Mr. Tran has over 20 years of experience in the intellectual property field and has extensive experience in counseling and management of intellectual property portfolios, patent and trademark preparation and prosecution, patent and trademark opinions, due diligence assessments, licensing product development strategies, technology transfer, intellectual property litigation management, and copyrights. Mr. Tran, welcome.
Thank you so much, Hugh, and welcome everybody. I'm so glad to be here. I'm very excited to help entrepreneurs succeed, and I guess Hugh rattled off a long list, but fundamentally, I think my background is I was with a big law firm, and then I got the entrepreneurial bug when a startup called Align Technology got funded from Kleiner Perkins, $5 million Series A, and they pulled me in to architect a patent portfolio, and then they went public about a year after that. So that kind of I guess that got me the bugs into the startup businesses as a different way than working for the traditional law firm. And then after that, I helped architected the early patent portfolio for Shutterfly, which at the time you never really know the concept of having printing pictures. That was pioneering, and there was a lot of innovations in that space. And then subsequent to that, I started helping a lot of founders, and I'm really happy to be here. I'm so glad to be of help. So thank you so much, Hugh.
It's a pleasure, Bao. It's a pleasure. So let's dive into it. Thanks for giving us a background on yourself as well. Now, my question for you, Bao, is what are the different boundaries of intellectual property?
So traditionally, we think of IP as 4 distinct animals. So the first one is patent, which is the most dominant. The second one is called trademark, and that is also commonly used. You have restaurants naming and branding and things like that. So that covers the source of the product. So it's a very important aspect for founders to know about. The third type is called copyrights, and that would cover source code, for example, the videos that you make, or your website design, for example. And it's important, but not as much as the patents and the trademark. And then last but not least is called trade secrets. So trade secret is really easy to get because all you have to do is you have to have something that you consider to be a secret, and then you have to make efforts at protecting it. Like, for example, requiring password to access, or a login, a sign in before you can enter the room, for example. And as long as you make an effort at protecting it, it is a trade secret that's protectable. So those are the 4 major components of the intellectual property system.
Okay, now when we're discussing intellectual property patents and things along those lines, what typically comes to my mind is the cost of it. I mean, it can't be very cheap to go through that process. So what is it that you're currently doing to cut this cost for startups and founders, so that it's not only efficient, but also something that is affordable as well?
Great question, Hugh. So I'm sure if you've gone through councils like the big law firms, you'll find out that average billing rate is it's amazing. I'm always shocked when I see $500 an hour for a first-year associate, and for a senior attorney at a big firm here in Silicon Valley, is in excess of $1,000.
Wow.
So the only way you either cut costs is by forcing people to take reduced salary, which they're not going to be happy with, or you provide automation. And so what we've done in our firm is to apply artificial intelligence as well as expert system rules that would help us create a better work product for you at a much lower price. The logic behind this is we have computer-aided systems that would capture the technology side of it from you very quickly, and then we would come in, apply our thinking, and craft a strategy that help you achieve the optimum protection in terms of ensuring that you have exclusivity in your space. Also, perhaps think a little bit defensively about, okay, in the future, how might your business model evolve? And so those things are things that a computer is not well equipped to handle, and that's where the human touch of a lawyer is really needed. And so the short answer is that we apply automation in an intelligent manner so that you get the benefits of the human thinking, as well as the automation in capturing the technology details from the inventors.
So essentially, you're utilizing AI and also bridging that gap, utilizing AI and bringing human intellects to make this an efficient process, as well as saving costs. So the things typically that maybe a lawyer may have to do that may be very costly, you've eliminated that, put AI in, and then made this process something that is affordable for founders. Is that correct?
You got it on point. So, most inventors, their expertise is in the technology, right? Okay. So why do we shift that work in describing the technology to a lawyer? The lawyer is better optimized to the legal side of it, to thinking, okay, with this technology, what's the best way I can position that to get a patent and to ensure that you get the optimum protection? Traditional patenting process, you give the lawyer the diagrams and any technical information you have, but the lawyer then just has to replicate all the technical description, when you, the inventor, actually know that better than the lawyer. So our philosophy is we provide tools to help you amplify your mind, very much like the Steve Jobs analogy. A computer is a bicycle for the mind. Correct. Here we take that to the literal next step, where we amplify what's in your brain and put it on paper for you.
Okay, so Bao, now you got me really excited, right? Now we're discussing something that is so unique. Would you please give us more insights on how this process works? I know you have something you would like to show us, because this is a visual, really gives more of a picture painting, right? So please, if you could show us something that could walk us through the process, that would be very, very much appreciated.
Great, we'd be happy to. So let me share my screen.
Okay.
And yes, and then hopefully you're seeing my screen. You see it?
Yes, I do.
For the purpose of demoing this our system that we use in-house, I've created a sample invention. Let's say you're the first person to invent a hamburger.
Okay.
And so in our system, what we do is we ask the user to enter a few basic data, like the title of the invention. Okay, hamburger with a vegetable. A founder should be able to do that easily. Right. Then we ask them to type in what is the problem that's facing the founder, the inventor. And most people should be able to pop that out in 1 or 2 paragraphs in a few minutes. So in the interest of time, I've pre-filled in the background section here. Right. Then we ask you, well, what exactly do you think is your invention is? Give us an abstract. So just for illustration, I pre-fill in the summary of what a hamburger is, for example, right? Okay. So that is basically the first thing that we capture. Then the next thing is we ask you to upload images that relate to your invention. So here is a diagram of a hamburger. Then what you do is you create a part list. So you highlight what's important in this, what are the major components of this hamburger. Okay. So you can see here, we label 100 as the top bun, and the bottom bun is a 110. And then in between, you got you got the parts of the hamburger, right?
Mm.
So I'm going to delete this thing so that to start off and to demo the power of our AI system.
Okay.
So once you've done that, then what you do is you click on auto generate. Oh, let me see. It's already pre-checked because of the previous demo. Can I do this? Let's see. Let me see if I can do a new one on the fly, and you'll see how fast it'll go. Because the system is. Let's do a cheeseburger. Let's do another one. Okay, so a cheeseburger here. And then I'm just gonna, in this diagram here, I'm gonna show you edit. Okay, so again, let's say 200. The new invention happens to be buns with sesame bead, top bun with sesame seed.
Now I'm hungry, Bao. You have
Hey, yeah. 202, yeah, me too. Lettuce, let's say. 204 might be cheese. 206 might be, well, to be novel, let's say, I don't know. Let's see. What was that new hamburger meat? Let's say
Impossible burger. Or?
Yeah, Impossible Burger.
Okay.
Then 210, let's say, is bottom bun. So now you're seeing the system live. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is, once I've done that, I'm going to show you how easy it is. You click on what is called keyword expansion, and it's generating right now. Bottom bun 210, impossible, possible burger meat, and yeah, and so it's generating text that you can see in here. And I think yeah. So now it's beginning to go into all sorts of details, and it's amazing the level of data that it's generating.
That's impressive.
Yeah, and then you can insert that into the text.
And I'm assuming whatever doesn't belong, you will remove.
Yeah, of course. The point here is you so in our interface here, let's say this one, if you don't like it, you can regenerate it right here.
Wow.
And so here, so now you're talking the process of making the bun itself, right? And so you can insert all of that information into here with the appropriate editing, and and so now in this one, obviously the AI is not generating the correct text. So I wonder if that's because we've added the flow is now going. So so Impossible Burger meat patty. I wonder if that's because it's let me see. Let's just say an Impossible Burger. Let's just.
Oh, we could just say meat patty.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's just do meat patty.
That, and then add in 206 meat patty. Okay. So you can see that it's beginning to, it's generating a bunch of text, but I think let's see in here. Let's see, auto text. So the text here is generating a bunch of detailed description that you can edit and revise. So cheese and things like that. So you can insert all that information into here, and then you can edit them as you need. So you might say top button has a flat side and opposite bottom side, blah blah blah. and you go in and and so we create these numbers that you can then edit and then and change the part list as you want. Okay, and when you're done with all of that, then what you do is you go. Each patent has a certain section of a boilerplate. So the brief description, you can select that. So we have in certain sections you would have various boilerplate that the lawyers commonly use, and so
Right.
all you have to do is pick the appropriate boilerplate that you like. Then you sketch your invention. What you do is you give us an outline of what you think is the key point of your invention, and so we do this in a very graphical manner. So let's say maybe you can create dependencies. So for example, you might say, let's say pepper. And so you can see here, in one of the aspects of the burgers, you might want to throw hot pepper into it.
Right.
You can drag and drop it around.
Some jalapenos.
Yeah, jalapeno and things like that. And so, and then you can move things around. As you can see, so it's a good tool to outline what you think is important,
right,
to let in your invention, right? Then what we do is we run a diagnostic on your part list, and so it'll catch all the part lists and see if there's perhaps inconsistent references. And so in this case, the bun 100 and the top bun, this probably I would leave it alone because that's really not a significant deviation. But if you start saying the top bun 100, but then you say the left use 100, that would be an error.
Okay.
Yeah, because the same part number shouldn't be referring to two different objects.
Okay.
Right? And so these are things that without a whole lot of knowledge of what the patent system is, the thing guides you through it.
Wow.
You can review it. You can review you can see basically what you see is what you get of what you've written up. And here, and so you can see that in very quick amount, we can, very short amount of time, we can generate and then it runs diagnostic here to show you, potential issues in your background and potential issues in your claim. You can go back and fix it. And in the end,
so in this part it is letting you know whether there's already an invention like that or if there's some inconsistencies or flaws. That's what's going on in this process here, correct?
Yeah. Okay. We may have used something like, let's say, catch for things like you might have referred to your invention in the background, okay, where the background is really just you shouldn't be talking about your invention in the background section. You should talk about it in your summary of your invention, or you should talk about it in the detailed description. But so we have various rules about what constitute a well-written patent application that we applied into here. An example you might see in here is, you see this. So it highlights one or more cooked patties, right? So when it's highlighting that, it means that I didn't describe the cooked patties in the description. Or ground beef or sliced bread roll. So it's catching things that you're using in here that you haven't described in the description section.
Okay.
So here you see also errors in here.
Right.
You'll say things like lower bun. What is a lower? So in common English, we think, oh, lower bun is good. Yeah, it's clean. It's clear, right? But when you think about it, what is a low and what is a high? That's relative language, right? So so it says, well, maybe instead of lower bun, you should use a different terminology. So it says here, it's too small for you to read, but it says here, be careful of word conditions. You should be more explicit. How low is low and how high is high. Okay. So it's basically trying to force you to become more descriptive of your writing. For example, here it'll catch you with suggested grammar. So instead of which have, it should be that have. Here it's saying, the figure. So you need to fill in. Okay, so the AI put in a figure, but you may want to type in figure 1 or figure 2 in here, right? So so it's catching various things that we as lawyers go and look for and clean up. So it does those first layer review for you. So in the end, what you do is you export this. When you click this button, export as Word, then it'll export here, and you'll see the application.
Yeah.
And you can see that in very quick, in a very brief amount of time, we've generated about
Wow.
18 pages of document.
Mhm.
So it's a good starting point. We're not saying that this text, you should file with this, but it will give you in 10, 15 minutes, 10 minutes, let's say, a good starting point. And then you can go through and spend 3 or 4 hours, do a brain dump into the structure. Even though you've never seen what a patent is, now you have a structure that you can write in.
And then
And
from
that's the
here,
key.
what tends to happen next is that startup is going to reach out to yourself to go over that and make sure everything is good and start doing some groundwork that requires a professional. Is that correct?
Right. We then,
Okay.
well, yeah, we recommend that a lawyer kind of review your work before you file it,
Right.
because there are the patent is a complex document, and
Right.
there's a reason why a normal law firm charges you about $10,000 for it. Is
Right.
because you got to go through and do a lot of check on it, and you got to make sure the claim section is appropriate in terms of you got to claim, so that there's a whole set of strategies in claiming your invention so that you don't match what is called a prior art section, the prior art. But yet you want to be as broad as possible, so you capture, you have as maximum protection as you can. So put it this way, if I were the first guy to invent the car,
Right.
the prior art might be the bicycle. And so what you want to do is you want to make sure you claim a vehicle that is distinguishable from a bicycle, but you cover everything else, as much of the space as you can to give you the exclusivity you want for licensing or to keep out the competitor, right?
Right.
So in my case, in working with Invisalign, their portfolio kept out the competition for 20 years. And so since 2000, and now it's 2020. So the patents that I worked on originally, they expired. So now you start seeing competition coming in. But having exclusivity for 20 years is valuable. I mean, for a new drug, for example, the drug company, the last year of the drugs is worth billions. So.
Right. So what you're then saying, just for those who are not aware of the whole patent world, your patent can eventually run out. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, that's a lifetime. The patent has a lifetime of 20 years from filing.
Okay.
So the way you keep on is, as long as you have new innovation, you can keep on applying for new patents, and then you can extend your exclusivity period because of your new innovations.
Oh, wow. So that period where it's exclusive to just you gives you the opportunity then to gain market share and also expand as a company. So, oh, wow, that's very impressive. You see, I never knew that. And I'm sure a lot of our viewers today have been before this case as well. So that's very valuable. Now, I have a question for you about what are some unique situations you've come across, whether it being the startup or the founder didn't go through the right process of protecting their idea, and maybe something got taken from there, or anything unique that comes to mind or that makes up for a good story. Would you like sharing with us, please?
Oh, sure. Well, I've been writing, warning people about, Kickstarter, because it's a great medium for raising funding, but you should patent it before you do your video and disclosing all your products. So I've been
Okay.
writing about it for about a year now, right? And yesterday I just saw an article that says, well, guess what? The people, the manufacturers in China, they actually, all they do is they sit back, they look at the Kickstarter, the listings, and the one that succeeded, the one that got funded, right? And it's a nice, easy, fat, juicy target right there. If you see that it's funded, you know that there's
Wow.
demand, right? And guess what happened? They actually produce the product ahead of the original people who listed it on Kickstarter.
Wow.
That's the risk you run if you don't use the patent system. Is You
So
know, you may be the first.
piracy is off the chart right now.
Oh yeah. Well, you know, I guess unless you have patent protection, you're exposed to that. Where if you go on to Kickstarter, if the first thing you do in your life is to go off into Kickstarter and you do a video showing how your product works and this and that, and says, hey, you know, I'll run a campaign for you know, and once you sign up, in 6 months I'll ship you the product. Well, guess what? The minute that the campaign closes and it's funded, you know that it's already tested. It went through market testing and it's validated through there. Now it's just a question of making it and selling it. So you know, and it's certainly if you're unprotected, then the people can certainly go in and use the same idea and do the design. So yeah, that to me is a something that I've been talking about, but you know, most people are just telling me, oh, you know, you're too paranoid. People don't, you know, that doesn't occur. But yeah, you see it right there, and it's obvious that it could be done.
Wow, that is devastating. Actually, I have goosebumps right now because I can see how that could be very destroying to a company. Now, you raised up a really good point, right? Because oftentimes a founder may think, okay, I'm good, or they may overlook this process. And as you said, you've been preaching about this, but yet you've been looked at as a lunatic in a sense, right? But now everything that you've been preaching on is actually happening. So for startups that have really good vision or invention that they're bringing to the market space, but they're lacking capital, and let's say maybe they're still in the MVP or pre-seed stage and have not yet raised equity, how do they go about? I know your process is a lot more efficient and cost effective than the typical, but what should that founder then do if they're looking to pitch to raise equity? Because it seems like they're then stuck between a rock and a tough place, right? You can't approach equity investors because you may risk what is currently going on. You may risk piracy, and it may not be from those equity investors, but from outsiders that are basically crawling the internet and getting as much data as they could. But then you don't have the necessary funds yet to be able to get a patent. What is the solution for this?
Yeah, so at our firm, we have a very nice solution for this that's very inexpensive. So in the patent world, there are two types of patent. There is a provisional patent, which is it will give you patent pending status, and it's not examined. Once you file it, it just sits there for 1 year. Then there's a utility patent. The utility is the one that actually gets examined, and then it takes about, I'd say, 2 to 4 years to get it to issue, and that's where the expensive one is. So they're both patent pending status, right? But a provisional is very easy to do, inexpensive, and so what we do is we offer our software at $4.99 to do the provisional, where you can easily do it yourself. The provisional, you can do it yourself because it's not examined. As long as you have good technical depth in there, you're good to go. And so using our software in combination with doing your brain dump, you should easily be able to come up with a 20 or 30 page patent application, right? And you can file out for, you can use the software, our system at $4.99, and then you can just file it directly yourself. If you really are worried about it and you want to have a lawyer to kind of quickly review and actually file it for you, just because for whatever reason you're scared of pulling the trigger, we're happy to do that for another $500. So for $1,000, you can have peace of mind. And because our software really focuses you on providing in-depth disclosure, whenever you convert that into a utility, it's going to be good. If you don't use, I've seen a lot of founders who said, oh, I can just do a provisional, and they just file basically the back of the envelope where it's a one-pager, and they file that. And the problem with a one-pager is that it's so high level that it may not it may not differentiate from, let's say, if somebody else across the world happens to be working on the same problem, and they, their stuff that they've been selling, or within that year that you're doing, could end up killing your own application. So let me give you an example to be more concrete.
Okay.
So let's say I come out with, I invented the flying car, and I
Right.
do a back of the envelope application where I said, oh, I invented a flying car with a frame with some jet engines and maybe a foldable wing that pops out of the car. That's all I did, right? So let's assume that everybody else is working on the same concept and they're racing to, on creating a product.
Right.
Somebody, let's say in Russia, might be doing the same thing, and they may be, and so two people doing the same thing at a very top level picture
Right.
would look very similar, right? But maybe
Correct.
in your particular implementation, you might be using some sort of very specific geared arrangement or a specific type of conversion from jet to electric generation or something. Whatever it is you do to make the thing work. Those two people, your solution and the person from Russia, the engineering is likely to be completely different, even though at a top level, yes, they're both flying cars, right?
Right.
So what I'm trying to get at is that details are important in a patent application, because you can use that to differentiate from other people who might be trying to do solve the same problem at the same time you're working on. And so what we focus on in this software and in our practice is the more details, the better. The more diagrams you put into the better, because a picture is worth 1,000 words, right?
Right.
So put in as much details as you can into the provisional, and then a year from then, you can then go and get our help, and it will be a lot cheaper because you have such a detailed disclosure that it's very easy for us to go through and clean it up and then write it. And we normally charge about half the price because you've done all that, all that careful thought thinking in place a year ago. So for $1,000, you can get patent pending status, and you can kill off these people who are just basically watching, watching what you publish and then moving faster than you, because that's the problem for the U.S. Our manufacturing is not here. That means, if somebody can just look up and say, oh, okay, that project got funded, that means it's a good project. Let me just run ahead and produce ahead of that guy. That's, that to me is a very, smart business policy. It may not be fair, but that's the way the world is.
It may not be the most ethical, but it works. Now, wow, this is so fascinating. Let me get this straight, right? And because I really want to make sure this is clarified for those that are listening, because it sounds too good to be true. So I want to get this straight one more time, right? So what you're saying today, Bao, is that for $1,000, a founder has an opportunity of getting a provisional license that could be about 20 pages deep, where there could be enough details to distinguish themselves from any other idea that is out there, which gives them the opportunity of time to generate capital and then be able to go into more details with that product. But this is going to protect them as they're working on their MVP and getting traction and all of those good things. So just for $1,000, they have an opportunity of accomplishing this in a relatively quick period of time. And now they can confidently pitch equity investors. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
Wow.
It's, as you've seen, our system is fairly fast to use. And then you just spend, some more, add as much detail as you can to it. And the details really are important in patent application, right? And so we focus on making sure that we help you collect that information into a document as much as possible. And then once you have that, you're safe. And tell you what, you should do this even before you go talk to your investors, because you never know, who that investor has invested in the past also. And those guys don't, and most investors do not sign NDAs.
Wow, Bao, we need you to get on CNN and every major platform by tomorrow, because this is very, very important. I mean, even if we're looking at the protection of the intellectual property that is going to be coming from the United States, I mean, as far as we're looking at competition and things like that on a global perspective, this right here solves such a, I mean, you're solving a huge problem, and I'm seriously impressed right now. Like I'm really impressed. This is very, very this is very important, and I wish your voice could be amplified, actually, because I think I actually believe and know that startups really need this. And I also, from just my conversation with founders, I know this is a major issue for them. They're insecure about sharing their vision just for these exact reasons. So wow, this is very cool. I'm not just saying that, but this is very very important to that people know of. Thank you, Bao.
Well, thank you.
I'm lost for words right now.
Yeah, you know,
and that doesn't happen often.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, you know, I've been preaching about this, but I'm just one voice, and certainly having your assistance in kind of letting people know that there are, you know, affordable options to protecting yourself, and you know, and once you have it covered, you can then be at rest when you talk to your vendors, your investors.
Wow.
You know, your when you do your marketing, you don't have to worry about that anymore. It's you're covered. It's like insurance, and for such a relatively inexpensive amount, I think it is very worthwhile.
Wow, definitely. If you're in the government agencies and you're watching this, give this man a government contract, because this is going to help American business and the innovative process of our economy, because right here, this is a major solution to the market space. So, wow, I really appreciate you for that. So now, what was some of the challenges in inventing this product here, if you don't mind sharing with us?
Oh, absolutely. So I've been thinking about this issue since 2000, believe it or not. So our first generation products, we were focusing on doing the diagnostics, you know, and so I was interested more in improving my own work product. So you saw those checks of the, you know, the part list checking, where we check for consistencies in usage.
Right.
And you saw how we checked to make sure that the things that we wrote in the claims are described plenty well in the text. So those things are more quality checking. So when we first did that, we created a tool where we gave people the structure, you know, the typical structure of a patent. So for example, we go back into this, you'll see that at the beginning, there's always a background of the invention, that you state the problem you're solving, right? Then you talk about a summary of your invention. Then you talk about a brief description of your drawing. And then you talk about your detailed description. So there is a particular flow that an application follows. And so we focus on giving them that background structure so that they can write the patent application. So those were neat and great. The problem with that approach was that there's some people who just hate writing. So you give them this tool that checks their writing, but if they don't like writing, it's not very useful. So for a long time, we kind of circle around and we try to figure out, you know, what to do. And then in the past couple of years, the advent of natural language processing and artificial intelligence became available. So we experimented that for a year, and we customized it to the patent generation process, and that's how we arrived at this new tool, which is, you know, when you think about it, we basically have accelerated the process of writing. If you went to a law firm, it would take them probably about a month to write a patent application, and that's why it's so expensive. With this particular technology, we compress it down. Now, the initial work product is not perfect, but it gives you a very good starting point within 5 to 10 minutes. And then from there, you can then follow the structure and then throw into it things that you never told the system that you knew. It's in your mind, right?
Wow.
Then once you do that, once you put that into there, you run another diagnostic, and now you've got you can think of this as though we are a software compiler tool for those programming. The compiler catches all the inconsistencies in your code. We catch all of that here.
Wow.
So in the end, it's like a computer. I guess when you think about it in the abstract, we're more like a computer-aided tool for generating patents, and and that's how we speed up things. We make it more accurate, and so that's the that's a part of the technology that you're seeing here. Behind that, there's some more technology that once you file it into the patent office. I forgot to mention something needed that we're working on that'd be interesting. So once you file it going into the patent office, it's assigned to a particular examiner, right? Based on various criteria. And so the text is obviously what they look at to assign it. So what we do is we have a database of examiners at the patent office, and how tough they are. So the allowance statistic, as we call them. So through that data, we can say, you know what? Maybe in certain parts of the text, maybe we want to recouch it so that we can then retarget a different group that's hopefully a little bit friendlier to you. So, as as things are in life, there's always an easier path and a harder path. We recommend you take the easier path to getting your patent allowed.
I concur.
So, yeah, so there are things that we're working on that additional automation that will be coming in next generations of this to help get you get optimum protection in a cost.
So you're saying you're making this even better. It's already amazing now, but it's even getting better. Oh wow.
Yeah. There's a lot of neat stuff in terms of looking at the data and figuring out how you achieve your objective. That's data driven. It's not guessing. We are actually supported by data saying, hey, if you couch it like this, the odds are you're going to be assigned to this examining group, which has a higher allowance rate than if you go to this examining group, which you will, which you still can do it, but it's just going to be more of an uphill battle. And so why pick the uphill battle?
Oh, wow. Yes, I concur with that. So, Bao, I know you're very busy, man. So I just want to ask just one more question. And my question for you is, if you could just leave founders and anyone that's listening right now with some closing remarks as to any advice with this process or just with their patent journey and protecting themselves, like what you've learned over the years, if you could just leave us with something today, that would be much appreciated. And also, if you could leave us with the best way to contact you on ScaleupStream.
Great. Yeah, sure. I'll end with a little cute story. What I learned going through a company that went public, the Invisalign technology. So, Invisalign is really the very first large-scale 3D printing technology, because they print these aligners that move your teeth in a sequence, right? If you've seen them at your dentist's office. And so the technology is really fancy, right? All these 3D printer technology and all these computer-aided tools on teeth. We were the very first CAD tools for teeth moving in the world.
Yeah.
But the one thing that kept competition at bay was a very simple patent. That patent basically says it covers 3 or more of these retainers that are coded so that you have to wear them in a particular order. So, i.e., it might be in retainer number 1, and it's printed on the side, or retainer number 2 and retainer number 3. So the patent really covers just all it says, the claim. All it claims is 3 or more retainers with a sequence indication. That's it, right? When you think about it, I mean, that's obvious. I mean, that's kind of like really, powerful, but isn't that too obvious? I mean, you're just numbering a bunch of retainers, and yet no one has ever done that. And the reason why we need a sequence to the retainer is because it's for orthodontic treatment. So if you wore them in the wrong order, there won't be any treatment, right? It won't even fit.
Right.
That simple thing, patent, kept the competition away for 20 years, despite all the other technology that Align had, that in terms of 3D printing and CAD and, how to model your teeth, all of that fancy stuff, we patent all of that too. But, it's kind of interesting how just a simple, just a simple distillation of your product can be so powerful. I mean, the concept of having 3 retainers that are sequenced, that as a patent kept the industry at bay for 20 years. Amazing. So that's a very interesting insight when I look back at what I've done in the past. And so I would say to founders and entrepreneurs, don't overlook the simple thing. Sometimes that can be the most valuable thing in your business. If you have the proper angle to patent it.
So you're taking the complex ideas and just breaking it down to the most simple form. That's okay. That's amazing. And Bao, forgive me on this, but I have to ask you a question before we get on. One more question. My apologies. And that's about ScaleupStream. Being a subject matter expert on ScaleupStream, what has been your experience with the platform? And if you don't mind sharing with other experts out there, just so they could get some insights.
Oh, that's an amazing platform. It's really well needed. I love the concept of having an online-based way to connect entrepreneurs together. I see ScaleupStream as different than a conventional incubator in the sense that because it's virtual. Right. So at the last meeting that we were at, I assumed people were from Silicon Valley, and when they started speaking, I was shocked. I said, "Wow, they're all over the world." And so I think that's a very exciting concept in the sense that it flattens the earth out, and now it encourages innovation in all corners of the world. And we see that I could envision in the future you take the scale up, and then we add in a little login capability into our system, where now it makes the life of the founders even easier. A one-click button where you come in, you get trained for entrepreneurship, you get all your initial, your safe documentation and everything in place, and then you go and through a click, you go to this and you protect your idea with provisional applications. And for $500, you can do it yourself, or if you want lawyer help, $1,000, it's still inexpensive. It drops the cost of starting a business in a defensible manner significantly. You don't have to, be any one physical location anymore. So it's a fantastic concept. I love it, and I look forward to the many more meetings where I'll get exposed to different, I'll learn new things from the site.
Appreciate you, Bao. And as we say at ScaleupStream, we're passionate about bringing Silicon Valley to you. So thank you for that description of what your experience has been with ScaleupStream. It is much appreciated and valued. And for those who are interested in connecting with Bao, you can reach out to Bao on ScaleupStream. His bio is all there, and it's an amazing way to reach out to him. And he is very responsive and someone that is very engaged as well. So Bao, we really appreciate you. Honestly, this was such an amazing recording to the sense of the information that you shared, the wisdom that you shared, and also how you've been able to take something so complex and break it down to make it so simple that anyone can understand. We appreciate you for that, Bao. Thank you for joining us today.
Awesome. Thank you so very much, Hugh. All right. Have a great day.
Likewise.